Hello everybody. I hope you can hear me okay and see me. Let me know in the chat, please. Welcome back to another Britcent Live. I'm Stephanie, if any of you are new. Hello. We have a couple of people in the chat already. We have Bagdilet. Hello, welcome back. How are you? And SH as well. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is actually the 50th live stream I've done with Britcent. 50. Woohoo! So we're halfway through 100, which is, I think, a day we should celebrate when it comes. Thank you guys for joining me today. We have someone else here who's speaking in German. Hello. Where are you from? Are you from Germany? And what's your name? Hello, welcome to the live stream. Hi, Chan. Hello, 123. And hello, Youngdan. That's so sweet of you to say. Thank you. How are you? Here in England, it's a sunny day. You can probably tell by how happy I look today. It's sunny and warm for once, which is great. Makes a big change because the weekend was really rainy and grey all weekend. But according to the weather forecast, it's going to be quite warm this week, about 22, 23 degrees and sunny. So I'm not complaining. That is brilliant. I hope you guys have had a good start to your week. Let me know if there's anything interesting going on where you are. How's everything going? I know we have a lot of listeners who are in Korea, but we also have people from other parts of the world, like India and China. So let me know if there's anything going on and how you're all doing. Hello to AR as well. Welcome back. How are you? So today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, I think. If any of you have been to the UK before, you might have noticed that there are so many different accents around the country. I'm going to be speaking mainly about England, but in England there are lots and lots of different accents, and in different parts of England there are certain accents that you can kind of recognize where somebody comes from the way they speak, basically from their pronunciation. So we're going to be talking about that today. So it's going to be kind of a cultural lesson, I think, and also a little bit of listening practice, because I'd like you to see if you can hear the difference between two different sounds, southern and northern. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. Hello to Shabil, welcome from Pakistan, lovely. Good to see you here. And it's rainy in Korea. Yes, I've heard that it's been raining for a long time, actually. Ooh, I don't like the rain. So yeah, let's get started, because I've got lots of things to tell you about. Not only specifically related to what I've called the 5 simple words that people pronounce differently, but also some cultural information and things like that. So hopefully it'll be quite interesting for any of you, especially if you're living in the UK or if you are interested in British culture. So I'm going to share my screen with you as usual. Here we go. Let me know if you can see this, guys. This is the intro. And as usual, if you have any questions or anything to say, please write it in the chat. I will try my best to get to everybody. But yeah, join in as much as possible. Shabil says, I like your pronunciation. You speak very clearly. Thank you, Shabil. That's really sweet of you to say. I'm glad you find my accent clear. I would say that my accent is kind of, it's southern, basically, because I was born in London, which is the southeast, which is in the southeast of England. I'm living in the southeast of England too, in Kent. And I would say that I have quite a kind of standard Received pronunciation is probably what you would call it. So standard British accent, which is normally considered to be southern, from the south of the country. So I'm going to be comparing my accent and people from my area of England to the accent from the north of England. Okay, so here we go with a map to start off with. I'm glad you guys can see the screen okay. You are welcome for doing it for free. No problem at all. I really enjoy this, so I hope you do too. Hello to Shay, welcome. So here is a map that I found of the UK. We're focusing on England on the right-hand side there. And I've drawn, if you can see there, two black lines to kind of divide. Obviously, this is kind of vague. It's not a definite line, or, you know, it might not be exactly there, but it's around there, okay? So if you look, so the bottom black line, this is dividing the south of England. So if you see Oxford, London, Canterbury, Bristol, Stonehenge, all of that is south of, we call that southern, so you'd have a southern accent if you came from there. In between the two black lines, this is what we call the Midlands. So we have the West Midlands, East Midlands, Midlands accent. So someone, for example, from Birmingham would be considered to have a Midlands accent. Okay, and then anywhere kind of above Nottingham over there, so Nottingham plus, would be considered the north, so northern accent. So somebody from York, Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, probably you're familiar with some of these big cities. And of course there's Scotland at the top, which is a completely different accent, but remember, Scotland is not England, okay? So I'm not going to be focusing so much on Scotland or Ireland or Wales. We're just going to focus on England today. But yeah, there's so many different accents that we can talk about in England itself. Welcome to Silver Paper. Hi, how are you? I'm good, thank you. 123 here says Scouse is the accent from Liverpool. Yes, that's correct. Well done. So Liverpool, as you can see, is, where is it? Where it is over there, the northwest of England, Liverpool. And yeah, people from there are called Scousers. So Scouse is an accent from there, from that area. So I'm going to show you all the different words we have for, well, let's say most of the words we have for different parts of the UK. So if you look at this list here, these are 5 words we use to describe different northern accents. Okay, so the first one is pronounced Mancunian. Now, does anybody have any idea which city would a Mancunian person come from? A city in England. Does anybody know where a Mancunian would come from? Mancunian is a noun, so you could say a Mancunian, somebody from this place. Or it can also be an adjective, so you could say a Mancunian accent, for example. Okay, so you're describing the accent with the adjective. Shay has suggested Manchester. Well done. And Chan as well. Very, very good. Yes, so somebody from Manchester is Mancunian. Very good, very good. These are informal words, okay? So any of these words on this list, well, apart from the last one, are kind of informal. Okay, so Mancunian from Manchester. Any ideas about Geordie? Does anybody know about Geordie? Where would somebody who is a Geordie come from? Let's see what you guys have written. Hello to Shizuka, a Portuguese living in England. Oh, lovely. Welcome. I'm trying to think how to say welcome in Portuguese. I'm thinking bem-vindo, but I'm not sure if that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Geordie is the next one on the list. Does anybody know where people who are called Geordies come from? Okay, Taeyang, you got it. That is correct. Somebody who is from Newcastle. Newcastle is a city in the northeast of England. Okay. And we call them Geordies. I don't know if any of you have heard of Geordie Shore, but that was, I don't think it's showing anymore, but it was a kind of reality show set in Newcastle. And if you ever watch that, you might find it a bit difficult to understand because they've got very thick Geordie accents. And even I don't understand some of the words they use, like they're specifically from that area of the UK. But it's quite funny, so check it out. Geordie Shore. And Brummie, any ideas about Brummie? Do you know where somebody with a Brummie accent comes from? Let me know in the chat if you have any ideas. Shizuka says, Benvindo sim. Yay! Okay, I'm glad I got it right. I studied a little bit of Portuguese before I went to Brazil. Just a few words, and that's one of the ones I learnt. Very good, 1, 2, 3. Brummie is Birmingham. That is correct. Well done. Birmingham is, as I said before, considered to be the Midlands. So it's kind of in the middle of those two black lines that I showed you. Well done. And somebody with a Brummie accent is from Birmingham. Very good. If any of you have watched Peaky Blinders, then that would be the kind of accent from Birmingham, a Brummie accent. Okay, the next one is Scouse, and somebody mentioned this earlier. I think it was 1, 2, 3, and you already told me that Scouse means from Liverpool. Liverpool is in the northwest of England, so you can say Scouse, a Scouse accent from Liverpool. Chan says, "Oh, I watched it. You watched Peaky Blinders. Did you understand what they were saying? Because some of them have very thick accents, thick Brummie accents, and even I found it a bit difficult to understand in some parts because I'm not used to it. You see." And finally, Yorkshire accent. So basically, Yorkshire is northern England. There's a big region called Yorkshire. Some famous cities in Yorkshire are York, Leeds, if any of you know about Leeds, Scarborough, Hull, like all of these are famous cities in Yorkshire. But Yorkshire is very, very big, okay? So yeah, these are some words we use to describe different people, different accents from the north of England. Okay, if you're from the south of England, we just say southerners. So a southern accent is usually what we would say. So I have a southern accent. Okay. So some of you are telling me about Peaky Blinders. Chan said it was hard to listen to, but the accent was really fascinating. It is fascinating. You're right. You're right. Brilliant. Well, let's move on to the next bit. So I wanted to talk to you before we come to our list of 5 about this kind of cultural divide that we have. So I don't know if any of you have lived in the UK, in England before, but basically there is a little bit of kind of a cultural divide between the north and the south of England. So northerners and southerners, there's this kind of divide, I don't know. So generally speaking, obviously I'm generalizing because everybody is different. We kind of picture a northerner, like a northern person, to be a bit more kind of friendly, a bit more open, more talkative than southerners. Southerners are kind of, they're kind of a little bit more reserved, I guess, less open. Maybe they don't chat so much on the street with people they don't know and things like that. But in the north of England, it's quite common to kind of be a bit more talkative, a bit more friendly with people generally. Of course, it depends on the person, but this is the kind of difference. And this is very interesting because in other parts of Europe, it's actually the opposite. So I know that, for example, I have friends in Italy and in Spain as well, and they kind of say it's the opposite. So it's usually the people who live in the north of the country who are a bit more reserved, not so friendly, etc. And the south are more open and more warm. but it's actually the opposite in England. So that doesn't mean that Southerners are not friendly. It's just if you compare the two areas of England and the people that usually come from them, there is this tendency to be a bit more kind of reserved, more private in the south of England, and then in the north, people are a bit more open with things. Hello to Lily, welcome. I hope you enjoy the live stream. Young Dan said it's interesting. Yeah, I do think this is quite an interesting point, because in other parts of Europe it's the opposite. So it's quite interesting. If you come from another European country, you might find this a little bit unusual. So when you think of a stereotypical kind of English accent, probably when you think of that, you think of somebody like Benedict Cumberbatch, or who else could there be? Like, you know, kind of people who act on what's it called, Downton Abbey, for example, or the Queen, the Crown. Sorry, not the Queen, the Crown. And you might think that everybody speaks like that. Like, you kind of imagine this accent that's a little bit more kind of posh, I guess. However, those accents are quite specific to the south of England, so they're southern accents. On the Crown, like, so the Queen, they speak completely differently to a lot of people in the south, so that's extremely posh. Shay has mentioned Harry Potter. Yeah, so people on Harry Potter, I would say they have a southern accent, which is kind of what we call the standard one. But as I showed you in the picture, the north of England is huge, and within the north of England, the accent's very different. So you might not be that familiar with it. When you hear it, you might think that it sounds a little bit harsh, like it sounds a little bit hard on your ear, maybe. Perhaps because you're not familiar with it. But I'm going to show you today what sort of differences there are. So apart from the sounds that we make, you know, north and south, obviously, as I mentioned, so accents and words are key differences between north and south of England. So not only the accents, so not only how you pronounce the words, but also words. There are some words that they use in the north of England that I've never heard of because I'm from the south, or the other way round. Or even in London, there might be words like London slang that a northerner might never have heard of, for example. So it's not only accents, it's also words that are different. Can you think of any differences? What do you think? Could there be any other differences between the north and the south of England, apart from the accents and the words? What do you think? If anyone's lived in the north, perhaps you have some ideas. Shay says, yeah, I don't understand people from the north. There you go. It's probably because you haven't been exposed to that accent, because only until recent years have northern accents become more common on television, for example, you see. Ainsley has commented and said food. Very good. Yes, food. There are big differences in the food between the north and the south. Let's talk about food a little bit. So, for example, the north of England, I would say, probably is a little bit more traditional in what they eat. Well known for kind of eating traditional British food, like pies, chips, potatoes, like all of that sort of stuff. Maybe more traditional dishes. Whilst in the south, of course, we do eat those things as well, but there's also more of influence from other countries, especially in London, such as, you know, so many different sorts of food, like French, Italian, German, Spanish. Like, you can find so many different sorts of food. This doesn't mean that you won't find it in the north, but I think that there are some kind of eating habits that are a little bit different in the north, which I will tell you a little bit about in a minute. Well done. Sohyun, welcome. That's okay that you're late. You're going to learn a lot from now on, don't worry. Youngdan said pronunciation. Yes, so pronunciation is kind of together with accent. That's right. Well done. Something else here is weather. So the weather is quite different in the north and south. So I would say generally, southern parts of England are generally warmer and sunnier than the northern parts. So, for example, if it's very cold in the winter in the south of England, then it's going to be extremely cold in the north. So it's normally colder the further north you go. Okay. Obviously, this doesn't mean that in the north there's no sunshine. There is sunshine in the summer, but I would say it's warmer the further south you go generally. So that's quite different. Also, another thing is cost of living. So the cost of living is very different depending on where you live in England. Obviously, if you live in London, which is in the southeast and it's the capital city, it's very expensive. So, you know, to rent a place to live, food is expensive, transport is expensive, etc. So there's a lot of expensive things in London. If you move outside of London to other parts of the south of England, it's not as expensive as London. But the further north you go, things get cheaper. So I remember once visiting my friend who lived in Yorkshire, in York actually, which is a beautiful city in Yorkshire. And I remember looking in the windows of the estate agents and seeing that I could basically buy a 4-bedroom house, a big 4-bedroom house with a garden for the same price that I could buy a 1-bedroom flat in London. So there was this really big difference, basically. So yeah, cost of living. So if you want a cheaper weekend break or something, then you should go to the north of England, go somewhere north, and maybe you'll have cheaper beers, cheaper meals, things like that. Yeah, it's a bit cheaper, that part of the country. So Ian said, my friend lives in Yorkshire. Ah, lovely. Yorkshire is a beautiful area, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful green area, lots of lovely things to see over there. It's really nice. Yeah. What else have we got on this list? Oh, attitude. Yeah, well, I kind of talked about this a minute ago. So as I said, in the north, we kind of consider people to be a bit more open, a bit more friendly. But in the south, we consider people to be a bit more private and quiet. But again, this depends on your character as well. And the last thing is food, which we've already mentioned. So these are some key differences between the north and south of England. I'd like to know about your countries, guys. Do you have this divide between okay, not between north and south maybe, but do you have like different regions in your countries where there are different accents, or maybe the cost of living is cheaper, or the attitude? Like, do you have any of these things in your countries? I'd be very interested to know. So let me know in the chat if you have this sort of these sorts of differences. Shizuka said, same in Portugal. Aha, interesting. Okay, so it's the same as England. So north is cheaper than the south, yeah? So Yun said, different in Korea, accents are different. Aha, okay. Let God be God has said, what about security? Do you mean like how safe it is to live in those parts of England? If you do mean that, then it really depends on which part of England you're in, because there's so many different parts of north and south of England. And within that city, so within London, for example, there are different parts that are more, which are safer than other parts, you see. And that's the same in other parts of England as well. Okay, so I have a question for you guys, as usual, like a pre-list question. But I'm just going to look at Sky's comment. Sky says, in Korea, west and east areas where they have different accent, food style, and so on. Ah, okay, that's very interesting. 123 says, southeast of France is expensive, weather warmer than the north and sunnier. Aha, yes, I thought so. I thought so. Okay. Interesting. Shay says here you can tell if someone is rich or not depending on where he's from. Okay. And Soyeon said I use Seoul accent. Okay. So it looks like you've got the similar sort of thing in your countries. Right, my pre-quiz question is this. So I'm going to ask you this question and then reveal the answer at the end of the stream. So my question to you is, what sauce do Northerners typically put on their chips? Now remember that in England, chips are what in America they called French fries. Okay, so chips are hot potatoes, crispy, delicious. We eat them with burgers, with fish and chips, etc. So in the north of England, if you buy a box of nice hot chips from a shop or in a restaurant, what do Northerners like to put on their chips? Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. It is not ketchup. So it's not tomato ketchup. That's not what I'm talking about. It's another kind of sauce. So I will reveal the answer at the end. I've got a couple of answers coming in, so you feel free to write your ideas, but I will tell you at the very end of the stream what the correct answer is here. Okay, good guesses, guys. But remember, it's a type of sauce. Okay. Well done, guys. Lots of good ideas coming in, but you'll have to wait till the end to find out. So I'm now going to move to my list of 5. Now, this isn't specifically words, but it's more sounds. And of course, I'm going to generalize here because number 1, I am not somebody who has a northern accent. I have a southern accent. So it's quite new for me, quite different to try and imitate a northerner. I'm going to try to make the sounds, but it's probably not going to be as amazing as somebody who comes from the north of England. And remember that in the north of England, there are many accents within the north. So I'm kind of doing like what I imagine to be like a standard northern sound, okay? So no offense to anyone who is from the north of England. I'm just trying to show the differences between certain sounds between the south and the north. Soyeon's put a little drum. We're going to get started. Ainsley says, very nice southern accent. Thank you, Ainsley. That's really nice of you to say. So here we go with number 1. So, okay, so in the south, often in words, we tend to say R. So we say the R sound. For example, car, okay, the long R. As you can see from the symbols, there's the 2 dots, which means R. It means it's a long sound. However, in the north, in some words, instead of saying R, they will say the short sound ah. Okay, so instead of R, they say ah. I'm going to give you an example. So, in the south, we would normally say bath for this picture. Okay, this would be, I'm going to have a bath. Okay, so listen for the R sound, bath. However, in northern England, most people would probably say it this way, bath. So as you can hear, it's a very short A sound. It's quite open as well, so bath. So I would say from the south, bath, and north, bath. Okay, so that is a very big difference between northern and southern accents. I'm going to show you some other words similar to that. Chan says, my tongue's being twisted. That's pretty funny. Soyeon said, is it similar with American? Similar to, remember, not similar with. Kind of. I suppose in American English, they'd probably say bath. So it's a little bit different, actually. It's more of an open sound than what we say. But it's short. So in northern England, they'd say bath. So it's short. But Americans would probably say bath. So it's it's open, but it's longer, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit different. So another word is grass. So I would say grass. I'm cutting the grass. But in the north of England, most people would say grass. Grass. Do you hear the difference, guys? Grass and grass. Let me know if you can hear that whether it sounds different or not. Okay. And then another one is this one. Another word like this, class. So I would say class. And in the north, they would probably say class. Class. Okay. Okay, so somebody's asking me about the Stokey accent. Stokey, that would be from Stoke-on-Trent, which is kind of around the West Midlands, I would say. So it's kind of in the, not far from Birmingham, I believe. Yeah, my geography's not amazing, but it wouldn't be a Brummie accent. It would be Stokey. It's different. Yeah. Chan says long and short. Exactly. Yeah. So we've got the long sound, class, and short sound in the north, class, like that. Soyeon said it sounds like Australian. Really? Maybe a little bit. So this is a very big difference between southern accents and northern accents. But I have a few more to add to that list. So let's have a look at number 2. So this one. So in the south, people would often use this symbol, which is pronounced ah. Whilst in the north, instead of saying it would probably be more like oh. Do you hear the difference there? So it's and oh. Let me give you an example. So I might say, I'm having my lunch. Lunch. So it's lunch. This is in the south of England. But in the northern parts of England, people would probably pronounce it lunch. Lunch. So listen to that difference. So we have lunch and lunch. Okay. Do you hear the difference there? And have you heard anybody say it in the second version, lunch? Maybe some of you've been to northern parts of England. Chan's written lunch. Exactly, like that. Yeah. Quite different, isn't it, guys? So we said yes, so you can hear the difference. That's brilliant. So we have lunch and lunch. Okay. Soyeon said it's the first time to hear it. Interesting. There we go. Well, it's always good to listen to different accents. So if you're learning English, I would advise you to listen to many different types of accents, because we don't only have one accent in England, as you can notice. We have so many. So it's good to train your ear, at least to understand this. Okay. Right, so that's one. Some other examples similar to this would be this word. So I would say from the south, blood. So it's but in the north, they would probably pronounce it blood. Blood. So blood and blood. Another example would be the famous pub. Pub. But in the north, pub. Pub. So pub. Pub. So yeah, as you can hear, it's quite a big difference. And if I heard somebody saying blood or pub, I would automatically know that they were from the north of England. Maybe not, I might not know the exact place in the north of England, but I would definitely know that they were not from the south. Yeah. Right, let's move on. Number 3. So we've got another sound that is different in the north and the south of England. Here we go. So the same sound in the south, okay. In the north, sometimes they pronounce it o. O. So it's like an O sound almost. Okay. For example, this number. In this case, I would say, from the south, I would say 1. So number 1. So it's quite an, it's like an open sound, 1. However, in the north of England, not in every part, but in, for example, Yorkshire probably, they would pronounce it 1. 1. So 1 instead of 1. Do you hear the difference there? Let me know if you've ever heard anyone say it this way before. Soyun said, some people in Korea pronounce blood as blood. Oh, there you go. They must be from practicing Northern English then. Silver Paper says, very interesting. I'm glad you're enjoying this, guys. I thought it was quite a fun stream to plan for this week. I really enjoyed it. Let me give you some more examples like this. So this word, I would say, from the south, I would say once. So once upon a time. But in the north, they would probably pronounce it once. Once upon a time. Once. And another similar word would be this word. I would say none. So southern none and northern none. None. Okay. Young Dan said, never heard it before. Yeah, I'm not surprised, to be honest. I'm not surprised that some of you've never heard northern sounds before, because probably the films you watch and the TV series you've watched are all either American English or kind of southern accents in England. So you might have not been exposed to northern sounds, but I'm going to recommend some series and films for you to watch if you would like to listen to different types of accents in England. So let's move on to another one, number 4. So another key difference is this sound. So in the south, we tend to say oh, oh. Okay, but in the north, instead of oh, they might say like that. Silver Paper said, this is quite difficult to recognize. Okay, well, if you train yourself, if you keep trying, you'll eventually start to notice the differences. Young Dad said, I'm repeating after you, but hard to pronounce the northern accent. I would like to hear you. Okay. Let God be God said, as a foreigner, is it better to speak in southern accent? Northern accent sounds a bit strong. It really depends what you prefer, to be honest. I wouldn't say that there's any good or bad. I guess it depends. I guess it depends where you're. So if you're moving to the south, then maybe you should try practicing things in the southern accent. If you're moving to the north, maybe in a northern accent. If you're not moving anywhere and you just want to speak English, then it depends on you, really. You can choose which one you prefer. Whichever one is easiest for you and clearest, I think. But definitely good. It's a definitely good idea to listen to different types of accents. So let's have a look at what I mean by this. So for example, this word, I would say in the southern accent, I would say boat, boat. So you hear that O sound. However, in the north, they might pronounce it Bert, Bert. I don't know if I'm doing it exactly right, and obviously this does depend on where in England you live. I would say this is probably more of a Yorkshire sound. So boat and Bert, like that. Let me give you some other examples. So I would say coat, coat. But in Northern England, they might say Kurt, Kurt. Another one. Goat, goat. But Northern, girt, girt. When I'm saying this, I feel like I sound like I don't know, like it just sounds funny to me because I never use this accent, so it's like I'm imitating someone. But there's no other way of me showing you how it sounds. I have to try. So yeah, goat or girt. So that's quite a common sound in Northern England, especially Yorkshire. Okay. So some of you have written some comments. Soyun says, the southern accent is more familiar to me. Yes, I'm not surprised by that. Yeah. Silver Paper says, okay, I'm going to practice and listen a lot. Good idea. Listening is very important. Shizuka says, wow. That's funny. And somebody has said, Northern feels like more British. Ah, maybe. I don't know, really. Well, it's all British, but just different parts. Okay, our final different sound is this one. So number 5, drum roll please. As usual. Here we go. Number 5 is this one. Now, this one is a little bit of a difficult one because I couldn't quite find the right phonetic symbol for the northern sound. This is the closest you can probably get to it. But basically, so in the south, I would say A, and in the north, it would be more like air, like that, air. So yeah, it's not exactly the symbol here, but it's similar. Let me give you an example. So this guy, he is what I would call late for work. So I would say a, lay. But in northern England, specifically perhaps in Yorkshire, they would say late. So instead of late, late. Do you hear the difference there? I hope I'm not saying it wrong, but that's kind of what I imagine it to sound like. Here we go. I'm going to show you some other words similar to that. So this one I would say wait. So A, in a northern accent more like wait, like that. And another word similar to that is away. So I would say in the south, away, but in the north, perhaps away. So it's a bit more like air, it's a bit more open, I guess. Shay said it sounds like Arab accent for me. Really? That's interesting. Jan says, could you pronounce all the one sentence, please? Well, you mean like, for example, I'm late for work or I'm late for work. I can't really do that because the other words sound different as well. Burak says there are 2 E's in Turkish. One is open, one is closed. It's similar to these sounds. Oh, very interesting. I didn't know that. And you guys are saying it's very different. Soyeon said sometimes I hear it in British films. 123 says Tony Bello is a boxer from Liverpool and he has a very strong Scouse accent. I've never heard him speaking. But yeah, the Scouse accent can be quite strong and difficult to understand. So I'm not surprised, to be honest. And that's it really. But we are back to our question from the beginning of the stream. I asked you this quiz question. What sauce do Northerners typically put on their chips? And the hint was it's not ketchup. So some of you commented earlier and you said mayonnaise. Some of you said salt and vinegar. Some of you said, what did you say? Spicy sauce and things like that. But no, guys, I'm afraid it's wrong. It's not any of those. And it's not white sauce either. Let God be God said, change my answer to gravy. Well done. Yes, the answer is this. The answer is gravy. So as you can see in the picture, we have some chips covered in gravy. Gravy, if you're not sure what it is, it's like a sauce which is warm and it's made from meat juices. So when you're cooking meat and the juices come out and then you kind of mix it with some herbs and you make it thicker. We normally pour it over roast dinners. Like if you have like roast beef or roast chicken or something in England, then you would always have gravy with that. But in the north of England, it's very popular to put it on chips. So chips and gravy is very, very popular in the north of England. It's not popular in the south, so I've never had this, to be honest, in the south of England. But I'm sure it's nice. I mean, why not? Gravy's delicious, chips are delicious. So if you're in the north of England, any of you, give it a try. Silver Paper said, is it different from brown sauce? Yes, it is different. So brown sauce is similar to ketchup. So it's in a bottle and it's usually cold and it tastes quite vinegary. But this is warm and it doesn't taste vinegary. It's more meaty tasting. There we go. Right, okay guys, we don't have lots of time left, but I'm going to do my mini quiz, and I have a couple of other things to say before. Young Dan said it looks delicious. It does look tasty. We're going to get hungry. So some of you said that you've never heard northern accents before, so I've written a list over here of some. Of course, there are many other things you can watch, but these are some popular ones. So if you'd like to expose yourself to different accents, so different English accents, or British accents rather, you could try watching some of these TV shows. So the first one is a very, it's been around for a long time. It's a soap opera, so it's like a drama on television in the UK, Coronation Street. It's set in the north of England in Manchester. And if you listen to Coronation Street, you will notice some of the sounds that I mentioned today. Very dramatic, okay, this one. Another one is Peaky Blinders, which we mentioned before, which is a kind of crime drama, I guess you could call it. I believe it's on Netflix, and people in Peaky Blinders are from Birmingham, so they speak with a Brummie accent, which is West Midlands, okay. And then we have EastEnders. Now this one is it's similar to Coronation Street. It's a soap opera, so like a very dramatic drama set in East London. So they kind of speak with a kind of East London accent, Cockney accent. So that's the southeast of England, of course. If any of you are fans of Game of Thrones, I loved Game of Thrones, actually. You will notice that there's actually a mix of different accents, so a mix of northern and southern accents. So, for example, I can't remember his name, but you know, if you've watched it, the father of the North, so the North, I can't remember what his name was. Oh, no. Well, you know, the Northern family. The father who is in the first episode, he's got a northern accent, for example. Okay. But Khaleesi, for example, she has more of a southern accent. Okay, so there's lots of different ones there. That's it, Barack. Ned Stark. Yes, thank you. Ned Stark has a northern accent. He's actually a very popular northern actor in England. Yeah. Silver Paper said, I was a big fan of Game of Thrones, but I can't forgive the endings. Oh my goodness, I know. I was always shocked throughout that series, but it's brilliant. Soyeon has asked, where is Cockney? So it's not a place, it's just, Cockney is a kind of accent, but also there's different words, almost like a dialect from the east of London, so east side of London. So Wu says, I already watched Game of Thrones. Me too. It was brilliant, wasn't it? And then if any of you want to hear a Northern Irish accent, which is completely different to any of these, you could watch The Fall. This is kind of like a mystery series, I guess you could call it, detective series. And if you want to hear different southern accents, so like from London and southeast of England, I would watch the comedy The Office. And I'm talking about the British one, obviously. There is an American version of The Office, which is also very good. But the original The Office, with Ricky Gervais as the main character, is very, very good, very funny. And you'll hear kind of standard southern accents there as well. Okay, so lots of different ones that you can try, and I hope you can access them somehow in your countries, just so you can practice training your ear, as we said before. Now, what's next? Mini quiz time. Here we go. Okay, we don't have much, well, we don't actually have any time left, but I'm going to move on for another few minutes. So please stick around if you're with me now, because we've got a mini quiz to go that I've prepared for you. Shall we get started with the mini quiz? Let me know if you're ready to start. I've got 3 questions for you. The game is basically read the question, put your answer, is it A, B or C, and write your answer in the chat as quickly as possible. Okay, is it A, B or C? Soyeon has asked me, can you understand every accent? No, the answer is no to that. I think if somebody has a very strong accent and I'm not familiar with that accent, then I would have to probably Really listen carefully to them. I can understand a lot of accents, but yeah, if somebody has a very thick accent, it can sometimes be a bit hard. So it all depends on your exposure, really. Okay, you guys are ready? Here we go. Question number 1. I hope you recognize these people in this picture because the question is about them. And the question is, in which northern city was the British band Oasis formed? So I hope you guys know Oasis. Yeah, that's it. Let God be God. The answer is A, Liverpool, B, Manchester, or C, Newcastle. Which city did they come from, or do they come from, rather? Let me know in the chat if you have any idea. If not, take a guess. Where do you think they're from? Okay, we've got some answers coming in. Oh no, how do you not know these guys? They're really famous. Okay, after this live stream, you need to go on YouTube, type in Oasis, and listen to some of their songs, okay? Very typical British band. It looks to me that SH is the winner because the answer is Manchester. And they've got a very thick Mancunian accent, actually. So, yeah, if you ever hear them speaking in interview, you'll notice this. Well done to SH. It might have been a guess. I don't know. Was it a guess, SH, or do you know Oasis come from Manchester? It's B. Well done to SH. It's okay, guys. You're not silly. It's fine. I'm going to give you some information about Oasis. So these are, the main 2 guys are the guys here. So the guy with the glasses in the middle, that's Liam Gallagher. And the guy on the left-hand side of him is his brother, Noel Gallagher. So Liam and Noel Gallagher are these famous brothers from Oasis. Unfortunately, they split up in 2009, this band. So they started in 91 and kind of stopped making music together in 2009. I believe that they're kind of all doing their own separate things, so they've all gone solo. I'm not 100% sure. But they had some great, great songs. So 2 famous ones are these ones, Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger. So you should definitely YouTube these titles and tell me next time if you've ever heard those songs before. Silver Paper said, I know Oasis, but I didn't know where they formed. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Let God Be God says Champagne Supernova. Yes, that's another famous song of theirs. Well done. Check them out. Really good. Really, really good. Okay, here we go. Question number 2, moving on. Okay, which part of the UK say they make the best tea? Is it A, Oxfordshire, B, Cornwall, or is it C, Yorkshire? Any ideas on this one? Let me know what you think in the chats. Let's see who gets the right answer first. Okay, we have a couple of answers coming in. Well done, guys. Fantastic, fantastic. It looks like Burak, you were the first one to get it right. Well done. The answer is C. Fantastic. C, Yorkshire. So Yorkshire tea we say that Yorkshire tea is the best tea. There's actually a brand called Yorkshire tea, as you can see in this picture. If you recognize this box, then you're probably drinking very good tea. Well done. Well done to Burak for getting that right first. And this is my favorite. Silver Paper, you're right, it is my favorite. They also have one with a gold label instead of red, which is very good as well. It's called Yorkshire Gold. Really nice. Let God Be God said, I only know Twining. Yeah, Twinings is also a very popular brand and it's also very good. But yeah, Yorkshire is like the place for tea. Silver Paper said that you like it too. Fantastic. Okay, and this is it, yeah. Soyeon said it looks expensive. It's a bit more expensive than other teas. I agree, but it's worth it, I think. Yeah. You can find this in the supermarket. I would say probably a box like this would cost about £3.50, maybe. But maybe you can buy cheaper tea for like £1 or £1.50 or something. But yeah, I like this one. Shay said, I've watched this on TikTok. Oh, interesting. And Borak says, I know a game channel from the UK and it's promoting Yorkshire every time. Oh, okay. Yeah, they do like to promote their Yorkshire tea. Yeah. Okay, final question before we go, guys, is this picture, so this bread. Can you tell me which one of these names does not exist to describe this type of bread? So which one of these is a completely invented word? Is it A, balm cake? Is it B, roll? Or is it C, cobbler? Which one do you think does not exist to talk about this bread? Okay, we have a couple of answers coming in. Wow, we've really gone over time today. 8 minutes longer than usual. But it's okay. I have nowhere to go right now, so I'm going to continue for another couple of minutes. I hope you guys can stay too. Got some answers coming in. Lots of mixed answers in this one, but it looks like, let God be God, you are the first one to get it right. Well done. The answer is C, cobbler. Cobbler is not a name for bread. However, the other ones do exist. And this is an interesting one. Well done, Borak. Sorry, well done, let God be God. You got it right first. Sorry, got it wrong. There are actually loads of different names all over the country for this type of bread. So you could say a roll, which is what I would call it, a bread roll. You could also say a bap. I would also use the word bap myself. And then there's other words. So we've got cob, we've got balm or balm cake, and we've also got tea cake. So it depends on where you're from in England. Cobbler, young Dan, is nothing to do with bread. A cobbler is, or was, somebody who fixed shoes. So if you had a hole in your shoes, you'd go to the cobbler. So I made that up. But these other words, they all exist. So it depends on which part of England you come from. And there are other words as well that I'm sure I haven't written here, but I'm familiar with only roll and bap myself. I would use those ones, but the other ones depends on where you live. And that is all, guys. We're going to have to stop there. We've gone over time today. Sorry about that, but I did want to fit in everything that I'd prepared for you today. So I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Time really does fly. I'll be here next week at the same time. So I'll be here at 2 p.m. British time, which would be 10 p.m. if you're in Korea or in Japan. I'll see you next week. I hope you have a lovely rest of the week. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's stream. And I will see you very soon. So take care. And remember to listen to different accents, okay? Try and listen to Oasis. I want you to listen to their music. If you haven't heard their music before, let me know next time if you like their music. And also try some of those TV shows that I suggested. And yeah, let me know if you can understand what they're saying. Well done, guys. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.